Good morning, everyone. Good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm so happy to see you today. Today, we're going to be talking about travel and specifically which essential oils will help you on your journey. We're all kind of getting out of lockdown now, and we're getting ready to travel. I've been doing a few quick trips, as you know, and I'm really excited that everyone is just kind of, I don't know, spring has sprung. We're ready to go. A couple of things that I just want to mention to you. Number one is we're going to do a particular emphasis on traveling with children. So if you are a mom with small ones, or if you know someone who is, or maybe you're traveling with grandchildren, all of these tips can be really wonderful. And we're going to really try to incorporate everything from infants to what I'm going to call bigger kids, not grown-ups, of course, but bigger kids up till about the ages of 12 or 15, how to keep them occupied, what essential oils to use. Everything that we're going to talk about is going to be safe, and wonderful for everybody in the family. When I've traveled in the past, especially when I traveled with babies, I always found that I wanted to really maximize my suitcase space. That was always a premium. Didn't want to check a lot of bags. It's become more and more expensive to check bags, as you know. Sometimes also, if you're going on very long trips, you want to make sure that you keep everything with, at least some of it, with you in the cabin. And so that's something that I want to really touch on as we talk about travel. We're not going to just talk about air travel, though. We're going to talk about car travel also, because that's another big one. A lot of families love to just kind of jump in their car and go. And this is another way that we want to keep track of. Do we have enough? Do we have enough essential oils? With car travel, sometimes it's a little bit easier because we have the boot of the car, the trunk of the car, where we can add a couple of extra things, and we're not so concerned about going through TSA. So travel security, airport security can be very tight, and you want to be very mindful. So we're going to talk about that too. So let me share my screen with you, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about what we do when we travel, why we want to travel, and what's going on. So I'm hearing Stella says, yes, she's traveling with a toddler and a baby. Oh my goodness. Let me know, Stella, if you're going to go by car or by plane. And then Ivy says, yes, that she's going to pack peppermint, lemon, balance, lavender, frankincense, deep blue rub, LLV, Terrazon, PB Assist, turmeric, and my pilot diffuser. Wow, Ivy, those are great selections. I've got a couple of others in here that you might consider. These are the ones that I would say 99% of the time I travel with few exceptions. I've had sometimes to add something in, or something gets broken or left behind by mistake, but these are what I'm going to call my kind of top 10 that I travel with all the time and have been for years and years. And infrequently have I gotten just totally flummoxed and not had the right thing for me. I've always been able to make some sort of a concoction and find the right solution for me. So one of the things I do want to mention to you is sometimes when I travel, I actually get the great good fortune to travel with people who are also essential oil users. And when that happens to me, that's a really great thing. Why? Because I can kind of tap into their essential oils too. It's happened to me a couple of times, but it hasn't happened to me much. And when it does happen, I'm actually very proud that I know so many people, honored really, to know so many people that use essential oils and are kind of like-minded, right? So, but if I travel with my husband who doesn't carry a single essential oil, then I'm kind of stuck. So today we going to talk about hybrid, right? Because we're not in full travel mode, right? We're still some work and some play when we travel. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I'm very cognizant of the fact that when we travel today, it can often be a little bit of fun, a little bit of family, maybe a little bit of work. So for example, when I travel and I know that I'm going to be away on a Monday, I make sure that I have my laptop with me because I want to be able to talk to you every Monday. It's really pretty rare that I don't travel with a laptop. But what does that give me? It gives me a little bit of extra space in my laptop case to be able to carry a few extra things. So make use of every little bit of space. I sometimes carry a laptop backpack. I have a little, almost like a traveling suitcase that protects my laptop, and I can stuff other things in there besides cords and adapters and things like that. So let me know when you travel, what's your favorite thing to travel with? Do you have a special case? What's your jam when you're going out and about with your essential oils? Stella says she's going to be traveling by car. Okay, thanks for letting us know, Stella. That's important information. So we're going to have different things that we have to do, different obligations, different places that we need to go, different people that we need to see. We may be staying in somebody else's house, and that's all important information to really make sure that we are being mindful of. If you're staying in somebody else's house, you want to be mindful of being sensitive to their smells, the things that they may like. Don't overload their guest room with 40,000 different essential oils. Don't put something really smelly like arborvitae on your feet and then go to bed. And then when they go to strip your bed, it just really stinks. Be really kind as much as you possibly can. If you do have to use essential oils during your trip, when you're staying with family members, use things that most people would like. And if you have to use something smelly, use it during the day. Put your shoes and socks on, and then just use it as you're walking around and visiting people, but not in their bedrooms, right? So we want to be mindful of what it is that we're doing. Okay, so we're talking about traveling and traveling with children and your essential oils. So it's a little bit of both. You may be traveling, hopefully you're traveling always with your essential oils, right? Hope so. But you may not always be traveling with children. So we're going to talk about a little bit of each. We have a couple of things that we want to think about when we're thinking about traveling with essential oils. Essential oils can have sedative qualities for nervous or jet lag travelers. They're ideal for freshening a musty room and boosting a mood. With the ones with grounding effects can mentally prepare us for a stressful business meeting or a rendezvous or unwinding at the end of an active day. You may be meeting up with people and during travel that you haven't seen for a long time. Essential oils with clarifying and cooling effects can be great for easing congestion, right? Wherever we may be feeling it. Sometimes after a plane ride, you can be feeling a little bit congested, or to keep the body comfortable when you're traveling around, depending on what types of climates that you are traveling in. Okay, let's talk about getting ready for takeoff, because I think the best preparation really can help us to prepare for a trip and make our trip the smoothest. So very often, at least for me, I'll do things like I'll take a separate area, either in my bedroom or a separate room in my house, and I'll just kind of start putting things onto a chair or a sofa or on top of a bed, keeping track of what it is I want to bring, taking a look at clothing, checking the weather, making sure that I know exactly what are the activities that I'm going to be undertaking. The last thing is kind of counting the days. So I'm making sure that I have enough supplements and essential oils and anything else that I've been want to be taking during my trip, because nothing ruins a trip more than getting to day, say, 4 of a 7-day trip and realizing, oh, everything's gone. All of my supplements, everything, I have nothing else to take. And knowing that you have to go through the next 3 days and the trip home with any essential oil, without any essential backup. That's not a great feeling. So make sure you have enough for your entire trip. Sometimes the feelings of unknown can hold us back from traveling, or hold us back from traveling with children specifically, but taking on a family adventure, while it doesn't have to be stressful. Let's just say that. And it can be a wonderful experience to get out of your regular environment and travel with children. For those of you who've had the great opportunity to travel with children, or to travel with younger members of your family, or perhaps with older and younger, you know what I'm talking about, that you just sometimes you can get on each other's nerves, but actually I find that at the end of the day, it's just such a wonderful experience. We don't have little ones, as you know, anymore at home. But in November, we were able to travel to visit family in Chicago, and there were little ones and big ones and olders and youngers. And it was just such a wonderful trip. And we were all together, about, I want to say 30 of us, more or less. And just so much fun, and just a lot of joy, and just kind of terrific interactions throughout the whole trip. So with a little bit of education and planning, you can make your trip really as stress-free and enjoyable as possible. The other thing is, if something comes up, I have to say, I love having my little essential oil bag with me. It just gives me a lot of joy. I know I have everything in there to just kind of soothe irritated feelings or hurts or whatever it is that life comes our way if we're out and about, right? So many of the tips I'm going to talk about today have to do, can be adapted to any sort of travel. So I'm talking specifically about cars and airplanes, but maybe you're going by bus or maybe you're going by train. I don't know. So let's talk first about traveling by car with an infant. So there's a couple of things that you want to be talking about here. Number one is infants are not super mobile. That's number one. And we're talking about infants, not that next stage, that toddler age. And while they are probably in their car seat the whole time, they can get a little bit fussy. Maybe they sleep the whole time. You want to make sure that you are prepping them for this longer trip in the car. It may mean some practice runs. It may mean taking them out and doing a trial run. So let's talk about for a second planning your first trial run. So if your baby does well in the car around town, taking a drive that's double your longest local commute, see how they manage on a local trip. It's also important to be mindful of your baby's schedule. When you're planning your destination for your first trial run, be sure to factor in a stop for, say, a diaper change or a feeding. Are you the sole driver or is somebody able to sit in the back seat when you are when you're in your extra long car trip? You can look for a nice place to stop. I find that when taking longer car trips, especially with smaller children, I usually segment out the distance into, let's say it's going to be a 6-hour drive, into 2 or even 1 hour stops, depending on the age of the children and where the stops are going to be, and trying to stop maybe places that might be interesting for them, might allow them to get up and out. Even babies need to get out and get some fresh air, right? You may have to build up slowly for a longer car ride, especially if it's a baby who's not thrilled with being in a car seat. This baby looks to be super content, but some babies, when you get them in the car, they immediately start, running, wiggling their arms and legs. They're just not happy. They don't want to be buckled in. Those are the types of babies that you're going to have to find some way to keep them calm during the time that they're in their journey, their car journey. Diffusing, make sure the sunlight isn't directly in their eyes, maybe a little shutter on their window. There's a lot of tricks that you can use, but the number one thing I would use, of course, is lavender. Lavender is going to work for you for jet lag, for travel anxiety, but terrific on your baby. So if your baby gets into the seat and he's a little inquieted, you can put the lavender on his feet. You can put it on some of the little clothing that he has in his on his seat or on his chair itself. If your baby is going between time zones, because you're going to be in a plane, and we're going to talk about planes in more detail in a minute, you want to make sure that they're able to sleep as fully as possible, whether it's in some sort of a car seat or a little basket that they have for them in planes, making sure that they're able to just get off that plane and really move into the next stage. For adults, very often we're expected to hit the ground running when we get out of a plane or even out of the car. And it's really can soothe anxious minds, help us to sleep in that next time zone, or even after a long car drive. Sometimes after getting out of a long car drive, we're kind of achy and uncomfortable. We can't even move our muscles. Our neck is stiff. Our tailbone is really feeling it because we've been sitting in that car seat for a long time. Use your lavender. It really will help. You can use it, of course, on your temples. You can use it on your chest or on your clothing. You don't want to use it to the point where you're falling asleep in the car. Of course, that's not a good thing. And make sure you're mindful of the driver. But for the baby, at least, we want to make sure that the baby is comfortable and relaxed as you're doing your car drive. Okay, next on the hit parade, let's talk a little bit about toddlers. So that's that next age. They may already have become a little bit mobile. They're going to want to get up. They're going to want to wiggle their little legs, maybe take a few steps. Again, when we're talking about 6 months or older, planning out our travel in terms of making sure we're taking stops throughout that drive. At each one of those stops, we can be giving them something new to do. At this toddler age, and I would say this would be ages, say, 2 to 4 or 18 months to 4 years, because that's around the time where they're beginning to, really, they want to move their little legs. You can start to use the children's, the kids kit. So that's all of your kids kit roll-ons. I'm not going to focus on that today because that's a whole other kit. The other thing is, depends on how much room you have. The oils I'm suggesting today are oils that can be used for the entire family and really maximize your space. If you've got tons of room, throw the whole kids kit in there. There's tons of things in there for you and for your child. But if you're traveling just maybe one-on-one and maybe space is at a premium, you want to make sure that you can, you have just exactly the oils that you use. When you're traveling by car with older babies, it's also important to keep them occupied when awake. So maybe when they're awake, you want to have someone sit in the back seat with them, maybe read with them, pass them a toy, give them something that's going to entertain them. I know that it can be appealing to just give a baby a phone or a screen and have them sit there, but under the age of 2, there are many studies that show that screens are not healthy for babies' eyes. So if you can resist as long as possible, sometimes I know it is not possible, but keeping baby glued to a screen for 2, 4, or 6 hours during a long car trip is really not the way to go. You want to give them things that they can manipulate, that they can enjoy, and maybe just doze if they need to during the long car trip. But the key is honestly having another person in the back, maybe an older child, maybe an adult, and kind of switching off to make sure that the baby is feeling good. Another tip, a couple of additional tips for traveling with toddlers. Bring favorite toys, but also bring new things. This is true of air travel as well. You can have a bag of goodies. Maybe you're pulling out something once every hour or every 2 hours. It can be anything from a little squeezy toy to a crayon for an older child. Maybe you have a little lap desk that they can work on and scribble, or some sort of a coloring book. There are tons of things that you can use, and you can actually scent some of the toys with essential oils. So you're getting that double duty. So maybe putting a drop of wild orange on a toy so that they're feeling that cheerful, upbeat, sort of clean smell while they're manipulating the toy. Obviously, be careful. You don't want to make sure that the baby won't touch the essential oils and then rub their face or eyes. So whatever essential oils you'd be applying to a thing, right, should be completely dry before the baby's going to touch the toy. The last thing is you want to make sure that you're making stops for potty training. Usually this age between 2 and 4 is when we're trying to encourage them, teach them, allow them to get to the real live adult bathroom, not just use diapers or Pampers. And it's important that we make those stops at regular intervals so we don't have accidents in the car, because that can really kind of mess up a car trip, any kind of trip, really. Okay, here we've got a little bit of an energy booster. Usually Peppermint is for mom and dad. Want to make sure that mom and dad, or who's ever driving the car, maybe it's grandma, mom, maybe it's an uncle or an aunt or a friend, is keeping boosted and alert while driving. Don't usually put Peppermint on babies, but you could rub your hands together with a drop of Peppermint and put it near the baby, so the baby also feels a little bit of alertness. So maybe you want change in sleeping routine, or getting up early in the morning. All of these things can affect how baby reacts or the toddler reacts when they're in the car. So keep that in mind. I think it's a good way for us to just use Peppermint sparingly with very small children, but use it on ourselves, and we can be human diffusers. Next on the hit parade is older children. These are kind of the easiest because there's tons of games that you can play. You can do everything from license plate games to alphabet games. There are also lots of number games, letter games, guessing games. We used to play all sorts of games when we were in our car together. We used to play a crazy guessing game where one person had to think of a person, place, or thing, and then all the others had to ask questions that could be answered with yes and no. And sometimes the guessing would go on for an hour because someone had gotten a really good, tricky thing, including at one point, I remember when my daughter was really little, we made everybody guess. And the thing was her blankie, and nobody guessed it. It was so crazy. We went on for almost an hour. We were going, and by the time we all guessed, we were just laughing our heads off, which was kind of fun. Okay, make sure you have a room freshener for when you arrive, whether it's a hotel or a stop overnight. It's always great to have something that'll just kind of freshen up the room. I like Citrus Bliss. You know for a fact that not all hotels' rooms are created equal. Sometimes they can smell not pleasant. They're like cigarette smoke maybe, or just something just not right, really stale, and maybe windows don't open. You can't get fresh air in there. Maybe it's very cold or hot weather. You wouldn't want to open the windows. Maybe it's pouring rain. You need something to refresh your air. Citrus Bliss is a great one. I would say any of the citrus oils are also terrific. And you may want to bring a citrus oil that can act as double duty. I also use my citrus oils in the toilet room because it's important. Many toilets, especially in hotel rooms, are completely enclosed, don't always have the best ventilation. It's great to have a bottle of this that you can kind of sit in there, and everyone who goes in can refresh the air after they leave. The other thing, of course, is this can do double duty in your car. If anybody's feeling a little cranky or out of sorts, use your citrus oils to maintain kind of that upbeat mood and with expectation as we're traveling. Now let's talk a little bit about planes. So tell me in the chat, how many of you love flying and how many not so keen on flying? So give me an L for love or an N for no. L for love or N for no in the chat. I really want to hear. I have to say, I would say I'm an L and an N, but I want to hear from you. Love flying? Not so much. Either one is good. I'm going to just grab a sip of water. I see a lot of L's, which is pretty cool, but also quite a few N's. Why do we get nervous on trips? A lot of different reasons. Sometimes there are incredible delays. We don't get to our gate. We're rushing in the morning. Maybe we have to get up extra early. Our adrenaline is pumping. Maybe there's some turbulence. There are many, many reasons why people don't like air travel. And I'm not trying to give you any of those reasons. If you're a person who loves it, I try to think of the expectation of what's coming and how joyful I am to be on my outbound. I'm so happy that I get this great blessing to go to this wonderful place. And on the homebound, I always think I'm so blessed to be able to be going back to my home, the home that I love and all the people that I love, and I want to be reunited with them. So on the outbound, I have my thoughts and feelings, and then on the return bound, I have my thoughts and feelings. And if I ever get to the point where I'm just thinking, I refresh my memory and I try to bring that back up for myself because I think it's really important. Let's talk a little bit of traveling with infants. There can be a couple of different choices. I don't know all the rules and regulations in your country. In the US, if you travel with a lap baby, and that's a baby that's under 2 years of age, you're able to travel with the baby seated on your lap, and airlines have a special secondary car seat that you kind of buckle the baby right onto your lap. If the baby is over 2 years of age, they must be in a seat of their own. However, all airlines or most airlines say that internationally you must purchase a seat for the baby, even if the baby is considered a lap baby. And I know I've traveled on certain airlines where people travel with infants and they have purchased just another seat for the infant. The infant doesn't go there, but maybe a car seat goes there or something else goes there so the baby can actually lay down and relax if they need to. So some of the common challenges with infants: getting to the airport, getting their own seat or lap travel, car seats, snacks, formula, delays, traveling to and from your destination from the airport, keeping track of toddlers and older children. This can be a tricky one. With an infant, they're usually right on your chest or your back, or maybe right in front of you in a small stroller. But when they get a little bit more mobile, how are you keeping track of them? You want to make sure, obviously, you're doing a really good job in making sure that they're sort of double eyes. So mom and dad or an older sibling, whatever it is. But traveling with infants doesn't have to be impossible. And one of the things that I want to just remind you of is airports can be filled with germs, and so can airlines, airplanes. You want to make sure that you're cleaning, maybe take a moment to just with a clean cloth. Many airlines now are actually handing you a wipe down, but I'm not sure whether it's got in there, probably alcohol, and you're wiping down your table. I would love to actually bring maybe a dry paper towel, put a couple of drops of tea tree on it, and you can fold up that paper towel anywhere and then just kind of wipe down your the little tray table, maybe the 2 arms, so that everything is just a little bit cleaner. You can't bring anything, obviously, that's wet. You can't bring maybe teeny tiny bottle of pre-made sanitizer, which you could use your tea tree in it. You can also use this from, tea tree can be used for anything from acne to air purification. So again, going back to your hotel room, you can use this right in the hotel room. Mini diffusers are very often easy to carry. I've actually got a pebble diffuser here, which isn't too big, especially if you're in a car. This is kind of an easy one to bring along. And there are diffusers that even personal diffusers that are even smaller than that. You can use it for cleansing the home, for surfaces, and not your home away from home, right? So whatever hotel that you're in. Now, if you're in someone else's home, I would not start wiping down everything with tea tree. They may have a specific cleaner, a specific scent that they like. I very frequently stay with family members when I travel, and I want to be always mindful that I'm not changing the scent of their home, because I want them never to feel like, oh, I invited Elena, and when she left, it smelled like a completely different place. That's not my job. My job is really to just go there and enjoy my time with them, and for them to enjoy me, and for me to stay as healthy as possible, but for me not to be a menace, right? We're not meant to be menaces. Okay, safety does matter. You know that the safest place is certainly in any airplane, is your child buckled in their own seat. And I know sometimes they're uncomfortable, they're not happy, they don't want to do it, but that airplane is flying at over 300 miles an hour. And through the air, we want to make sure that they are buckled in and as safe as possible. So maybe do some practice runs with your child, maybe explain to them as much as you can. These little ones, this little girl looks like she's about 4 years old and she seems super content. Again, occupy them with something, new toys and old toys. And Teresa reminds me to take your On Guard wipes. Exactly, Teresa, that's a great tip. Now, depending on how long your trip is, if you take a full box of wipes, you may be able to kind of juggle them out. So you've got a couple for each leg of your trip, but make sure you've got something with you to wipe down your surfaces. Let's talk a little bit about traveling, snacks, and formula. When you're talking through, if you're bottle or breastfeeding, you know that you may have to have it checked as you go, especially if it's express breast milk, you may have to have that checked when you go through TSA. Any sort of formula and breast milk is exempt from the 3-1-1 rule. But when we're talking about other liquids, we know that we have to be really careful if they're going in a carry-on. However, I have not found with a small pouch of essential oils, and my pouch carries between a couple of different, but between 8 and 10 essential oils, all 15 milliliter bottles, by the way. I have not had any trouble going through any airport anywhere in the world. Now, if you wanted to travel with a big case of oils, you would probably have to check it. But I do have friends that have actually gone the extra step, and team members actually gone the extra step and bought one of those little teeny sample cases and made a sample of every oil that they use. That's a lot of work, but if that's what you want to do, or maybe you're a practitioner and you want to make sure that you have certain oils with you when you get to the next step in your journey, I commend you, and you should do that. The other thing is you could make samples, multiple samples of the same oil. So could you make, I don't know, 10 samples of On Guard and 10 samples of lemon and 10 samples of tea tree, and then just use the sample bottles? That's a great idea. Whatever makes sense to you. You may want the full size, you may want a small sample size, but the concept is basically once you leave your house, you only have the essential oils that you brought with you. So make sure you choose wisely. Okay, here's another thing when we're talking about keeping your immune system healthy. I always travel with On Guard essential oil, On Guard gel caps, a few, I don't carry a whole bag, but I'll carry a few protecting throat drops, and I'll travel with On Guard beadlets. So I'm carrying 4 members of the On Guard line. Why? Convenience. And none of these things are really that large or heavy to travel with. Occasionally, if I'm really pressed for space in my luggage, I will actually take fewer of the soft gels and maybe put them into a little pill box, adding them in with my LLV or something else that I absolutely want to carry with me. I love these 4 particular products. For me, I do not travel without them. And on occasion, I've left one of them behind and been shoot, why did I do that? So I always make sure as I'm packing that I have this ready in my packing area so it doesn't get left behind. Let's talk a little bit about delays. Delays are just a function of air travel. I don't know what to tell you. If you're taking short trips, you're usually pretty good. Longer trips, you never know. Can't get to your gate. There's weather, you're waiting, the plane doesn't come in, whatever it is. You may decide to take a red-eye flight, and sometimes they will take a little bit longer. It's like an overnight layover. Whatever it is, if you're traveling with children, make sure you've got a lot of opportunities for them to rest as much as possible and for you to be attentive to them. I realize that when there are unforeseen layovers, it's hard for children because they don't understand. Why can't we do the next thing that we're supposed to be doing? It's even hard for adults. We also get tired and achy and cranky. If you're a person who doesn't love to travel, make sure you have something with you that's going to help you to calm down. I always have my Serenity or Lavender Peace with me. I'll frequently put that on an airport. I've had times where I'm traveling through an area, terrible storms, all the flights are down for a little while, and I just have to sit and wait. And my mind is kind of racing about when am I going to get it? What's going to happen, right? What's going to happen next, including getting on the next airplane and thinking there's going to be a lot of turbulence. All of those things can really set your mind in motion. Essential oils can help us with that next leg of the journey. And we want to make sure that we're helping our little people also to feel that frustration. They may, or to relieve that frustration. They may not be able to express it in the same way, but they may be acting out. They may be not as attentive or not listening as well as they usually do. So be kind to them, just like we want to be kind to ourselves as well. Let's talk a little bit about motion sickness. So if you're going to be in a plane or a car or any sort of vehicle, buses, certainly would fit that bill. I've never heard anybody getting upset stomach in a train, but I'm sure it happens. Ginger essential oil, really wonderful to take with you. Also wonderful for little ones. You can apply it on the soles of their feet. You can cup your hands, put some in the palms of your hands. Just cup it gently in front of their nose and mouth and have them breathe in. You can take a single drop or part of a drop and rub it on their belly. For infants, I would try to dilute that as much as you possibly can. But ginger oil is one of those oils that for any sort of motion sickness, or even for an upset tummy, if someone's eaten something that didn't agree with them, it's one of those go-to oils that serves a lot of purposes, and especially for young children, it's a wonderful oil to take with you. You can put it in a capsule for an older child or for an adult, a single drop. And obviously the child would have to be able to swallow a capsule, or putting one drop in a little bit of water and having them drink it down. Any of those applications or uses are safe for travel. Now, Jennifer's asking if I found Tamer works very well. Yes. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, if I had the room and I was traveling with small children, I would bring the entire kids kit. I really would. It's really like the size of a big sandwich. It's really not that big. But if you're squished for space in your luggage and you're getting on an airplane, I understand. But it's one of those one-stop shopping kits that you can use for everything, including the tamer. Tamer is the tummy tamer, basically. So if you're having some sort of stomach issues, whether it's nerves or food or just motion sickness, you can rub it right on the tummy. It's also pre-mixed, pre-measured, and it's a roll-on, so no dripping, which is a wonderful thing. Next on the hit parade that I really like, if I don't bring ginger, I bring, of course, DigestZen. And I would actually rub this on my stomach before flying or before a trip to calm emotions, because sometimes what we feel is that butterfly feeling in our stomach. This can help us to kind of calm down a little bit. It's a wonderful companion to add in the digestion of food, soothe sometimes stomach upset. Sometimes when we're changing time zones, we're going to notice that our digestion is not as regular as it usually is. All of that can be aided with DigestZen. It includes cardamom, which is a close relative to ginger. And I've been using DigestZen for years. for all different sorts of reasons. And in our family, it's really one of our go-tos. And I imagine it's one of yours also. Okay, here's an interesting combo that I always travel with. And I know this sounds crazy, but I find these three oils together, these are sort of my final three in the oil category, work well for me and my family. Why? Because I personally take frankincense and grapefruit under the tongue every single morning to protect my immune system. The other thing that I'll do is if I'm trying to keep a room fresh, I'll use wild orange and grapefruit together. And my husband really prefers the smell of wild orange to grapefruit. There's something about grapefruit that he just doesn't love. And using these three oils interchangeably to kind of lift mood, calm us down, any sorts of bumps or aches or anything that we're feeling that's discomfort, you can use your frankincense oil. I also find using a frankincense oil with a citrus oil can be very calming and soothing. In fact, if you're feeling a lot of stress as you're going on a trip, this is a wonderful 1-2 punch. So I keep these three in my case. It may seem a little bit redundant, but that's me. And so in my oil category, that's what I'll usually carry. Now, if I had all the space in the world, what are some of the other things that I might carry with me? I might carry a deep blue or a deep blue rub. Now I'm actually carrying a deep blue stick because I feel like it's really convenient. I would carry perhaps, I'm trying to think what I would definitely carry. I mentioned before lavender, but I would definitely carry either a serenity or a lavender piece. I might carry, I'm trying to think what else. I might carry a breathe if I was going someplace that I thought was going to be either very dusty or have something that would affect my lungs in one way or another. So there's a couple of other oils that I might include Purify, another one. So I don't know, of all of the oils that I've talked about today, is there anything, oils only, right? Because I'm going to get to another couple of products. Anything that you haven't seen that is a favorite of yours to travel with, let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear. Okay, let's talk a little about other products. Now, I always travel with my LLV. I don't even actually have a slide of it. So my Lifelong Vitality are my vitamins and minerals. That includes my XC Omega, my Microplex VMZ, and my Alpha CRS, which are my 1-2-3 punch for just staying generally healthy. But in general, for my LLV, in addition to my LLV, I carry the 5 following gel caps. Ta-da! Now, I sometimes, if I've got tons of room, I'll just throw the 5 bottles, boom, in a Ziploc bag and be done with it. Other times when I'm more pressed for space, like I'm going to be taking a trip in the next couple of days, and I'm going to take a few of these in a little pill pack and just unload them and label the pill pack, because sometimes once they're out of the bottle, I can't tell which is which. Sometimes I can tell by smell, but not always. But these are the 5 that I bring with me all the time. I had mentioned to you already On Guard, and I had mentioned already Serenity Oil, but I do take the Serenity gel caps. I love them. I find that they're just the extra oomph that I need, especially if flights are really delayed, because that's the thing that just kind of sends me around the bend. Also for long haul flights where I really want to make sure that I'm getting some sort of rest. I may not be completely zonked, completely out like a light, but my body is relaxed. I'm going into that kind of twilighty sleep that at least I'm getting some sort of rest, that when I get off the flight, I'm going to be able to function. I'm not going to be a zombie. DigestZen goes without saying. If I take the oil, I also take the gel caps because I love the 2 of them together. Also, if you're traveling with different members of the family, some people may have their preferences. Tries. For me, I find there are certain cities and I get there and they have different pollens, or the hotel has a different air filtration system, and then I'll start sneezing. It's no fun to be sneezing on your vacation or your holiday or your visit, whatever it is. So tries for me, that goes without saying. And then finally Copaiba. And for me, this is kind of the thing that I would use as opposed to using an over-the-counter analgesic. So everything from head tension to I bump my knee, any kind of discomfort that I would be feeling in the body, I'm using my Copaiba, and I have usually, if I'm going to take any bottle of the entire bottle, I'll take the Copaiba because that's something that I'm taking almost every day, if not every day. So a couple of you are getting on and you're telling me the things that you would take that I haven't mentioned. Jocelyn says balance. Angelina says Claricom. Sandy says lemongrass. And Pearlie actually says balance. Yep, I would absolutely add any of those into my regime. If anybody has anything else that they wouldn't take, besides your LLV and besides these 5 gel caps, is there some sort of supplement that I've left behind that you take? Mary Lowe says lemon. Yeah, I didn't really mention lemon, did I? But I mentioned a couple of other citruses, and absolutely, and adaptive. Aliana and Jennifer both say adaptive. Ivy says turmeric. Interesting. I don't know if I would take turmeric oil because, again, it's one of those more smelly ones, but could you take turmeric capsules? Absolutely. And that's a great anti-inflammatory. Okay, I've got a couple of resources for you, just some ideas. This is that I use to prepare this presentation. And this is everything from the license plate game to some things on laptop strap, let's start again. Babies who need to sit in your lap. That the Federal Travel Commission says that you need to use certain types of lap belts and so on. Strollers, tracking devices, anything that you can think of, and even a quick article that says 25 tips for traveling with children. And then as a last note, so I just posted the resources in the chat. I hope you got a chance to take a look at that. You can have a wonderful, wonderful trip with all different members of the family. I hope that you'll be looking at our latest list that shows what's going on, what we have coming up over the next few weeks. We've been posting those lists in the chat, and I hope that helps you. I know we had been doing that for a while and gotten away from it. I know that you're all getting busy. I want to make sure that you have the list of upcoming events, upcoming chats. And just want to thank everyone for having been here. You've been a terrific group, and I hope you've got something really good out of this. I think the one thing, now that I think about it, the one thing that I didn't mention perhaps is PB Assist. That might be a good one to bring along. You could bring the envelopes, and then you could portion them up among the family. They're not heavy and they don't take up a lot of room. Saihua says helichrysum is another one, recommending. Some of the other ones, and Stella says, thank you for all the tips. Okay, so today was a lot of fun. Please follow and subscribe. And for more tips like these, head on over to Instagram. I don't know if you came here from Instagram or were here and now you're thinking of going to Instagram. We're going to be posting a lot of short reels in the next couple of weeks about travel tips and all different other sorts of things that will be useful, I think, for you. We want to make sure that you're empowered to use your essential oils and also to pass the word as we go into our summer months. I think the next few months are going to be really just really good ones for all of us. Better weather, getting out, seeing people, it's all a good thing. Remember, you are amazing. I'm so happy that you are here today. This is one of these days where I kind of wake up feeling it's going to be a really great day today. And I think today's going to be wonderful. So I'm really looking forward to it. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And thank you so much for having been here. Okay, if you are on live, please stay on. We're going to have some winner. We're going to pick a winner. We have kind of a little gift today for anybody who's going to be traveling or not traveling, but we want to pick two of you, 2 lucky winners will win an essential oil. So if in the future you're watching this on YouTube and you'd like to get on live, we'd love to have you. Check it out in our WhatsApp chat groups and also on Instagram where we announce our Zoom information. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I'll see you back here real soon. Bye-bye now.